EAGLES, Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Thursday morning edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mac, John McMullen, back with you live for another 2-hour edition here on the show. J-Mac, how you doing on Thursday morning? It's a quiet time in the sports world, Johnny Mac.
World Cup, now that we're out of it, but that amped it up a little bit because I think
I'm not a big soccer guy, so I don't get too much.
Yeah, well, I think the country was portrayed that way, but I think you see it's a little bit more popular than people expected. I mean, they're getting some monster TV ratings, higher than everything but the NFL base, even college football. I mean, they're killing it. So people are interested. That I admit that I was interested more than I expected to be. So I think it's been a nice little pickup for a dull time of year. If you're not a baseball fan, and my Yankees are shit in the bed, so I'm not really interested. So something to keep you occupied if you're a sports fan.
Yep, no doubt about it. So we are 19 days out, though, from the Eagles training camp. It's right around the corner. And once training camp comes, it always feels like it's an escalator right to the season. Things start to move quickly, and I believe that's what will happen here starting at the end of July. So I'm looking forward to that, but it is right around the corner, J-Mac, this training camp. And
really, really close, really, really sneaks up on you quickly. And things will get into it pretty quickly. Things tend to ramp up. I mean, you have the acclimation period, they call it. So you got to wait a while before you put it on the pads and stuff like that. But, there's not a lot of time to prepare like there were in the old days when you had 2-a-days and really month-long training camps. And,
right.
You got to make the most of your time. And to me, for people that say, hey, what does Nick Sirianni do? That's a big part of it, man. You got a limited amount of time and you got to get prepared as humanly possible. And that's where you can really separate yourself from other organizations, other teams. And then the Eagles have the added hurdle. The Eagles coaches have the added hurdle. I don't know if you saw Vic Fangio on Exciting Mike's, Cooper and Reed's show. But, he again, and it's not the first time, he was asked, what's changed? 40-year coach. And people say, well, the players aren't the same. They're not. And Vic always says that players are pretty much the same. They're competitive. They want to win. They want you to help them. Most of them obviously have outliers, but what's changed is you don't have the time to prepare. You don't have the time to practice. You don't have the time on task. So he said it again on their show, and he's right. I mean, it's difficult compared to what it used to be, and that's why you have some of the sloppiest play early in the season because you're still getting up to speed. But
especially for a coach like that, John, who was around when it was different. Some of the newer coaches, it's like it's all they know. So
that's true too. And that could be one of the reasons why everybody wants younger coaches and they don't want veteran guys because it's not going back to the way it was. So maybe you hit on something there in the fact that, hey, this is the only way these guys know. So, they've grown up in it. I remember when John DeFilippo was there all the way back then, I asked him how because he sort of bridged the old system with the new system. And he was like, you lose whenever you lose, the quarterback was back in the building the next week and you're working with him, not necessarily, you don't want to wear them out on the field, but you're working with them from a mental perspective, in doing all these things. And you don't have that time anymore. You just don't. And that's why, fans get all enamored. The Eagles, Jalen Hurts and a bunch of the Eagles were down in Central Florida working out together. Every team does that now because they have to. And if you have players that want to be good, you're left to your own. You have to do it on your own because you're not allowed to do it. You would have been here doing it, but you can't. So, that's why you see tight end university and Von Miller's pass rushing camp and all these things around the country. Offensive line masterminds is coming up. Lane Johnson's, part of that, helped create that for the offensive linemen. So, you have to, if you want to be really, really good in this league, you have to do a large portion of preparation on your own during this supposed downtime. Now, you get vacation for a week or two,
and you think it's a shittier product now, right? I mean, you think
unquestionably. I mean,
do you think this is like a Jenga thing? You know what I mean? Like, where could this thing fall? It doesn't. It just feels like no matter how shitty the product seemingly gets, and I don't think it's that shitty. I mean, it's definitely worse than it once was, but the ratings speak for itself. People still obviously enjoy watching football. Could it get to a point, John, where you are taking away too much that people check out a little bit?
I think the safety dogma is a bigger challenge than the shitty product.
Right, like the flag football type of thing. I agree.
I think that's to your point about the younger coaches. Same thing with the younger viewers. Like, they don't know. This is all they've ever known.
Right.
So I don't think that's changed. That'll change that much. And then the second part is the economy as a whole, the TV industry. 65%. I think people don't realize 65%. People talk about the juggernaut that the NFL is. 65% of their revenue comes from TV rights, right off the top of the bat. So if that industry craters and they just can't afford to pay the money they pay, that could change things dramatically. So I think those two things are way ahead of.
I mean, it already feels like that industry's cratered, but what it's done is it's just condensed into its most valuable. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So could that condensation, I guess, stop at one point and stop, having the same ROI? I guess maybe it could. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are the two biggest things. And the cliche is all empires fall. It's just a matter of when. But I think the safety thing is the bigger part of it. That would be number one. Number two would be TV. Number three would be the product. But I think that's a distant three. And the NFL does a good job. Like, I always joke about Red Zone. The thing is, so many people watch Red Zone now. They don't watch actual games. And if they watch the actual games, you'd be, wow. I call it the Sugar Ray Leonard effect. You just saw 55 minutes of shitty football, but it's really exciting at the end, and you leave going, that was pretty exciting. And meanwhile, it was just a freaking shit show.
Yeah, right. But they get their social clips, John. They get the couple of highlights that they need for Red Zone, and it all looks good.
So I think that's part of it as well. But and it's not. It's just, so how do you deal with that less of time? Well, you dumb it down. I mean, what else can you do?
Right.
You can't be Bill Walsh with no time to prepare. You can't. I mean, it's not possible. So you have everybody playing the same style of offense, RPO, zone reads, got hot for a while. Now it's tilting the other way. Everybody plays too high on defense now. And it'll tilt eventually. But, half the league is playing Kyle Shanahan's offense and half the league is playing Vic Fangio's defense. Literally.
Yep. And, I mean, look, we're all Eagles fans, so I would assume if you watch Red Zone on every other team when you're listening to this show, you don't do that for the Eagles. I assume you watch the entire Eagles game. There's a lot of plays in those Eagles games that are pretty ugly.
It's a lot of lulls.
So,
But yeah, that football and football's not unique either. I mean, the same thing has happened to baseball. The same thing has happened to basketball. I'm not as big as a hockey guy, so you can tell me about that. But but in those sports, it has more to do with the analytics than I think football. But it's become far greater in football analytics. But in basketball, it's a 3-point shot. Some genius figured, hey, if you take a bunch of twos, which are some of the most exciting, like I say, the most exciting parts growing up as a big basketball fan, the most exciting thing to me was watching Mo Cheeks run a fast break and Julius Erving be on one wing and Bobby Jones be on the other wing. And it was just almost always resulted in a thunderous slam dunk and the building goes nuts. Today, you veer out to the 3-point line.
Yeah.
Because they're told the mid-range jump shot is the worst shot in basketball. And in baseball, it's you don't play station to station. The exciting level of baseball's always a lesser urgency game, but when you have double steals or sacrifice bunts and you're moving from station to station for the people that like the strategy of the game. Well, they figured out that you're much more likely if you swing for the fences to hit a 3-run home run than get singles, a bunch of singles in a row. And you got all these 3 hits, 17 strikeout games because nobody has an approach to where they could be Rod Carew hitting 388 or Tony
that
Gwynn.
stinks because I do love that part of baseball.
Exactly. I mean, I think we all do. All of us who love baseball say, what the fuck? I mean, you're watching a game where the ball's never in play. You got a bunch of guys who they only have to throw 5 innings, so they gear up to throw 102 before their arm falls off. You can't do that for 9 innings consistently every 5 days. And then you got all these relievers that throw 100 plus, and that's what they go for. And the offense goes for swinging for the fences, and that's where you have, basically feast or famine, bunch of home runs or a bunch of strikeouts.
No doubt. Interesting stuff, Johnny Mac, the sports world. I do wonder if at some point here, optimizing on the analytics of the game, which I can understand why they're doing, but I do wonder if it bites them in the ass. Like, it is a public facing industry. They are a business entity that relies on viewership, on fans, on all these different things to keep the salaries, to keep growing as a business. Maybe they should optimize more for that.
I agree. At the end of the day, I blame the leagues because it's the league's job to make it an entertaining product. And they can, like, when the shift was a big thing in baseball, I said for years, that's the easiest fix in the world. 2 infielders on one side of second base, 2 infielders. That's it.
Right.
Simplest fix. And it took him years to get there. Years. It's not it's not a total fix. And you do have to probably, educate. Look, it's competitive. And if you go out and tell people, go win by hook or by crook, and the nature of, well, this is how we win. We have a better chance to win. The numbers say we have a better chance. I'm not even arguing with that because it's true in baseball. It's true in basketball. But at what expense do you hurt the game? And you have to have, difficult discussions and say, the approach has to change, whatever things you can factor in, because at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's an entertainment product. And if it's not entertaining, and baseball's already lost its standing as America's pastime.
That's what I mean. Like, the football, at the very least, can point to, well, the business side's working. Our ratings are still through the roof, and so from them, I actually understand it a little bit more. So until that number changes, I don't expect them to make a move. But for a league like baseball or hockey or basketball or any of these other leagues that have lost viewership, I think they got to take a look. Now, maybe it's just the TV.
Well, now the TV ratings are up because they paid off Nielsen. Yeah, Shout out to my Nielsen friends. I'm partially joking, but it is what it is. They changed their methodology 3 times. They're changing it again.
They're going to keep changing it as long, whatever it takes
all to make
boost.
the high, all to make the highest rated shows feel better, because the NFL thought they were undercounted. And they, they say that's not the case, but look, you have declining ratings under the old system year over year over year. They have a new system, and now everybody's breaking records every week. I get it. I get an email in my inbox every day.
Right.
I just talked about the World Cup rating. By far the highest ratings ever in this country by a wide margin, but that's different because it's here. But the NBA set record after record after record after slowly declining. It's like, all right, well, either the old methodology sucked or the new methodology. It can't be both. They can't both be great. So you rely on us for 15, 20 years. Because do you really think the NBA is more popular now than it was with Michael Jordan and even early in LeBron James's career? There's no freaking way. You don't have that kind of player. I mean, I love Jalen Brunson. He's not Michael Jordan from a superstar standpoint.
No, I don't think there's any guys like that, John. I really don't. As good as some of the superstars are, I don't think there's anybody that has that type of gravitation pull. I mean, even close. LeBron had it. Say what you want. Some people love LeBron.
LeBron was the biggest star in the world for people that hate him.
LeBron was a big star.
He was, his high school games were on ESPN.
Literally.
And hopefully it come to Philadelphia, but I doubt it.
So. You think he will?
No, I don't.
No,
I don't. But I like the fact that the Sixers are trying. I already you see the difference between Bob Myers and Gansey and what was here. The whole mentality of we can't do anything. God, I hate that. We can't do this. We can't do that. You have to do it one way. I hate that. There's nothing more that I hate in sports. Bullshit.
Agreed.
That my favorite Chip Kelly moment is that nobody, and in hindsight, Chip brought a lot of changes to the NFL, but when he got here and he said, don't tell me we're doing it this way because that's the way we've always done it. Don't tell me that.
Right.
Think for yourself. That's what I want. I want people, if I'm an owner, and again, any of the listeners want to give me, doesn't have to be football, just a couple billion, buy a hockey team even. I'll do it. But I would hire people that think for themselves. If you're going along with the crowd, that's what I hate about the Eagles' offensive shit. That's what I hate about it. You're a copycat now. Think for yourself.
Well, we'll see how it all shakes out, Johnny Mac, in the future. It's going to be interesting the way it's unfolding here. Real quick on that, I am interested in it. Where do you think LeBron will end up, J-Mac?
Cleveland. I think a lot of it depends on, is this really his last year? Like, does he make that decision? If he makes that decision, I think he's going to Cleveland. If he's got like 2 years in him, because remember, he's got his other son coming up. I don't know the timing. He might want to play with him too. If he wants to hang on for a little while and he keeps himself in shape, it's pretty amazing if you think about it. The dude is, how old is he?
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Then Miami, I think, is in the equation. But yeah, I don't see Philadelphia.
We'll see what happens there. Good stuff, everybody. John is 19 days out from the start, or the report date for Eagles training camp is right around the corner. One name looms large to me, and that is none other than Jalen Carter with the contract situation. Right when I departed for Italy, I saw a contract come down that was Jeffrey Simmons, who got up over, I believe it was over $35 million a year, Johnny Mac, at the defensive tackle position. Kind of what we were expecting was going to happen at that spot. So it jumps from Chris Jones, who was right around, I believe, 31, to now your top paid DT is at $35 million, and the price for Jalen Carter just went up. How are you expecting this to unfold in the next, not in the long term, but in the next 30 to 60 days here? Does he hold out? Does he ever perform this summer in training camp? What does that look like? Obviously, it feels to me like the Eagles still have more of the leverage, but a player can make it hard on a team, as you've seen happen in the modern game. How do you see it, John, right now with Jalen Carter, the looming contract, and whether he could hold in here with camp starting in 19 days?
Yeah, well, he's hold out, no shot. I mean, zero. I would put that at 0%. Hold in, decent shot for the first week or so. Still less than 50. I'd put it at like 20, 25%. And even that, it'll be masked as, oh, he's got a calf or a hamstring, something. It'll be masked with that. As they try to work out things. But, he doesn't have a ton of leverage, to be honest. He's under contract. I think people don't realize he's under contract through 2027. So you either play for the Eagles or you don't play. And that doesn't make sense for a young player at this stage of his career. So unfortunately, I think a lot of the things that are fueling these types of discussions are, it was expected coming off the Super Bowl season. He was a no-brainer. And the Eagles identify early extension candidates on purpose. And if he played in 2025 like he played in 2024 and he didn't have the injury concerns, he would be extended. But last year happened. And, I think all the signs are positive from the health aspect. So hopefully that he's past that. But he didn't play well last year on top of it. Now, the hope is that he didn't play well because of the shoulders and the persistent pain, but he didn't play well. So you're not just going to waltz in and say, all right, we're going to give you 37 million, set the market. And I think the thought coming into 2025 was he's going to set the market. Yeah. How many times have you heard that?
Yeah, a lot.
Well, now, I mean, I think the Eagles would, if it were 30 million, I think the Eagles would be done. They would have extended him. So they're trying to get the team friendly deal. And he is trying, and Drew Rosenhaus are trying to set the market. And, to me, the best case would be go prove it, just like his teammate Jordan Davis did. Now, from the Eagles' perspective, if he does do that, then you got to pay the Jerry Jones tax, I call it, for waiting. You're going to have to pay more,
right?
Which is the reason why they are typically proactive, but they're proactive when there's no questions. Here, there are a lot of questions. So that's why they're dragging their feet a little bit.
Do you think it will ultimately cost them too much and they should have just taken the I'll frame it as a risk by paying them early? Because there are questions, like you pointed out, but it does feel like the reward is still high on the player, or at least the upside. The potential for upside is still very high on the player. You think the Eagles should have got ahead of it, John, and done this before his number might balloon? Maybe, who knows? It could get to 40 million if Chris Jones all of a sudden gets 37, or you know what I mean? If something like that happens.
Well, no, he wasn't eligible for an extension until this offseason. So, yeah, I mean, if the rules were different, you extend him right after the Super Bowl and
Yeah, they've done a lot of their extensions, I think, in March and April, like DeVonta, AJ.
Yeah, but
back
the
in the day,
questions are already put into place at that point. The questions were already the same questions, the shoulder issues.
Right. So my question to you though was, would it have been smart for them to look past that to bank on the upside, because they might, if he has a good year this year, and then they attach a $40 million contract to him, in theory, some of the questions are still there, right? I mean, the shoulders. Yeah. If after he gets paid, does he still have some of the immaturity issues? I mean, I think all those questions are going to be there no matter what.
Well, yeah, I mean, the immaturity stuff they know or they don't know by this point. So I don't factor that in as much as the injury stuff and the money in the descent last season, which is all that was going on in March. So same thing in March. Look, if he would have accepted 30 million, I think they would have gotten it done in March. I don't think he would have accepted 30 million. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm pretty sure. So I think they're looking for Jeffrey Simmons' contract or more. Now, since with Jeffrey Simmons coming in, you have that viable landmark now, which wasn't there before. But the presumption that he would have taken Jeffrey Simmons' contract, I don't know if that's the case. Like the 40 million number was out there for a reason. They wanted to explode that thing. So, yes, same thing applies. I don't think much has changed from the Jeffrey Simmons contract other than you have the new sort of launching point. You got to go higher than that from Rosenhaus's side, would be my presumption. But you were already probably at that number. And the Eagles don't want to go near that number. So, is he willing to accept 30 million a year? I doubt it. So if that's going to be the case, then he's going to have to play this season. He's going to have to prove it. And then he's going to get more if he plays well and he does prove it. And that's the Jerry Jones tax. But I think it's the right move for the Eagles because there's too many questions. Like when you bring up DeVonta Smith or even Jalen Hurts the first time, players like that, they were locked in. Doesn't mean they're right either, but that the decision-making is locked in. Yeah. Turned out to be right with really both of them, but certainly DeVonta and other players as well, which they didn't have questions. And even Landon Dickerson, where you say, well, from a contract standpoint, they were like, this guy's just great. You can't control injury. You can't control that stuff. So we're going to extend them. All that stuff made sense. There's enough questions to slow that train with Jalen Carter. And I think prudently so from the Eagles' perspective. And they have him under contract. So, basically his only leverage is, I said, you can hold in for a week or two and, it might be a sprained ankle, yada, yada, yada. Or you can, their biggest leverage point is asking for a trade.
I almost wonder, John, if the Eagles are okay with that. Like, for example, every time the Eagles deem they want to get ahead of a player, they do it. They don't wait. Jalen, you just mentioned two of them, Jalen and DeVonta. They did it with AJ Brown on his second deal. They did it with Landon Dickerson. They do it with Saquon. They do it with everybody. So, like, the fact that they've done this almost, and I'm not claiming this to be true. I'm just wondering and putting it out there. Have the Eagles already made up their mind? And in their eyes, if Jalen Carter goes and has a great year this year, well, great. It's going to be a whole lot easier to get a first-round pick and maybe even more, in the trade market, because somebody will be willing to pay him. Like, I almost wonder if they've already made up their mind by waiting because it's so against the way they do business. I love the word you used, the Jerry Jones tax, or the phrase. The Eagles don't do business that way. So
no, but they have. I mean, that there are, Jordan Davis. They were not.
That's
going
true.
to,
That's true. Jordan Davis is that way.
he can go pro, and they certainly paid a tax on Jordan Davis. People don't bring that out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they've done it in the past, but they do it when they have questions, and they had questions, and everybody admits it. Jordan Davis admits it. Everybody knows, and he took the baton, and he proved it, and he got paid, and the Eagles paid the Jerry Jones tax, so they're willing to do that, and that's where from their thought process, it's like, are we comfortable enough to set the market right now? The answer is no. Go play well, and we'll set the market next year, and they'll pay a little bit more. But
too much Jerry Jones tax is going to make it harder to do business the way they do it, though. Jordan, Carter, you could argue that they're doing the Jerry Jones tax on Jalen Hurts right now.
No, I don't agree with that, because that worked out. Now as we get to the later stages of the contract, I mean, but again, he was the highest paid player for what, 10 days?
Yeah, I'm just saying, the quarterback market's exploding, and the Eagles could have paid him this summer.
Oh, this summer. Yeah, well, this summer you can't pay him. That's what I'm saying.
But that's what I mean. So they're opting to wait, and in a way, it will be the Jerry Jones tax. They waited till closer to the last minute.
If he performs, and he goes to say, yeah, they're paying that too. But I mean, that to me makes sense. When it's a policy, doesn't make sense. When you have questions on a player, again, those are the difficult conversations you have to have. And you're like, well, what we've seen last year from Jalen Carter and Jalen Hurts wasn't good enough. That's what they're saying. I mean, I can't disagree with them.
Me neither. I'm just wondering if it complicates their team building philosophy, because it feels like before this, it was a long time since they had taken a Jerry Jones tax. I mean, everybody that got paid
they just took it with Jordan Davis literally a year.
I know, but that's this year. I'm talking about previous to this year, when they were building the team through 2021 through 2024. Well, I don't know how many Jerry Jones taxes were applied there.
Here's the scary part for Eagles fans. Most of the time, doesn't work out positively. Jordan Davis had worked out positively. So generally that kind of takes care of itself. So from your standpoint,
they still projected with Jordan. They took the Jerry Jones tax, and he still didn't improve, yet he's a 3-down player.
Well, that's true. But, that again is an interesting part of where they went with the contract.
Right.
I agree with you. And that presumably will change once Morrow, most likely, or Jalen Carter leaves. Then he'll have to be a 3-down player. So there definitely is projection that he's going to be a 3-down player during that contract. But until one of those two guys isn't here, he's not going to play a lot on third downs. I mean, it would be silly to play him on third down. So yeah, that was an interesting contract. I've been honest about it. I mean, that blew me away. That blew a lot of people away. We were all looking at Travis Jones and his contract in Baltimore. Maybe he can beat that. And they paid him like he's, I think he's the fourth. He got the same money as Milton Williams.
Yeah, he got big money.
And look, I mean, the pass rushers are the ones that get paid. I'm not even saying that's right. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I think the concern for me with Carter is more that he can't really do much to prove that the questions that you have now will go away. Like, for example, with Jordan Davis, you might have had the question, all right, can he be more of a 3-down player? If in theory he gets to that point, okay, well, that question is now gone. Okay, he's a good enough player to be a 3-down player. With Jalen Carter, it's like he could have a great season. The Eagles are still probably going to be like, well, how are the shoulders going to hold up? Well, is the immaturity going to rear its head at any point? You know what I mean? Like those questions probably won't go away, John. It's not as simple as can this player be this like Jordan Davis's questions.
Well, I think I think it could be solved by the play on the field. I mean, I
look, still going to have the shoulder concerns though. No.
Yeah, but
like for example, are the Eagles going to want to give him 3 years or 4 years? Because I know Carter's going to want 4 years.
Well, you know, the year to me is not, the number of years is not that big of a deal. But you know, you prefer, if you're the Eagles, you prefer 3. If you're him, you probably prefer 4. But like, I don't think people understand how poorly he played last year. I mean, he was one of the worst defensive tackles in football from a grading perspective, from being one of the most dominant defensive tackles in football the year prior.
Well, somebody ought to tell Drew Rosenhaus that then.
Well, I mean, Drew's an advocate. He's advocating for his client.
Yeah, but you got to be a realist. I mean,
he was top 10 as a rookie. He was 18th in 2024, and I believe his numbers weren't as high as they should have been because he played so much and they beat the shit out of him, which is part of the reason he played so poorly last year. Last year was 80th of 127. And as a run defender, again, put on that Chicago game, he was 114 of 115 of 130. Like, he was just not a good player at times last year, which I know the baby ears are going to get upset. But so if he goes back to being a top 10 level defensive tackle, I mean, then the Eagles, that's proving it. That's proving it. I mean, if he's 80 again, you know, you're probably looking to get out of the Jalen Carter game.
Definitely. And if he's top again, do you have any concern that he did it because of the contract? You know what I mean? Like after 24, when he was riding high,
that's all baked in. You know, a lot of people amp it up when they have a contract year and they have to prove something. But even this isn't a contract year. I mean, he's getting paid $27 million in 2027.
Yeah, right. Right. That's the 5th year. And that's fully guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
5th year,
Yeah. So, yeah. Eagles have all the leverage and they can afford to wait. And they should wait at coming off last season.
Oof, 40 million of that market might get
if he comes in today and says, yeah, I'll take 30 million. Yeah, I'll do that. I don't know if the Eagles would do it, but I'll run that risk.
32? Is that what you said? 32?
30.
Why Drew's not going to take that?
Well, that's part of the problem. I mean, I wouldn't put him above Jones, never mind Simmons.
Yeah, well, Drew wants him above both. You know that.
I know. That's part of the problem. And that's you just, and I get like fans don't care. They'll just do it. Just do it. Well, that'll turn you into a bad team even quicker than the Jerry Jones tax.
But that was kind of my question earlier about, does taking the Jerry Jones tax too many times turn you into a bad team? They're doing it with Hurts. They just did it with Davis. I mean, you and the beat guys, who'd you say you thought the Davis contract was going to compare to? Travis Jones?
Travis Jones, yeah.
Yeah, which is what, 15 million?
13 and a half.
Yeah, so all right, there's 11, 12 million there.
Well, the Jordan Davis contract is weird. I'll admit that, because he's been a 2-down player, and to your which is fine. They're projecting him as a 3-down player, which is fine, but they're not projecting him to be a 3-down player this year. So that's 1 year crossed off the books, because if Jalen Carter and Morrow are healthy, aren't you going to put your pass rushers on the field on 3rd down?
Yeah, you would think.
So if you look at, the top paid guy, Jeffrey Simmons, Chris Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Milton Williams are the top 4. And Jordan's got the same but less, total money than
Right.
Milton.
I think it was Jordan 3 years, Jordan Davis.
Yeah, they roll it in. You know how the Eagles roll it
3
into
years
the 5th year.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's the guys at the top are the interior pass rushers. And then if you talk about nose tackles, you really got to get down to, Vita's at 17.75. It's probably the top pure nose tackle. And the Eagles paid Jordan Davis 26. It's like, what the fuck, man?
So I'm wondering, is that a foreshadowing of their thought process on Carter?
Well, they're still going to have to pay big money to Morrow.
Yeah, like if Morrow and Jalen Carter both have a great year this year, what are their perspective? What are their values? Each of them. Carter's probably close to 40, right?
Yeah. Morrow's probably
30.
Yeah, I don't think he's quite as well-rounded as Milton. So, but definitely well over 20. Probably
All right, so call it
23.
25. I think 25, if he plays good as a defensive tackle, somebody will give it to him on the open market. If you're the Eagles, do you rather pay Morrow 25 and get back it's the question you've been asking, and get back a first-round pick for Carter, or do you rather pay Carter 40 and get back probably a compensatory pick by letting Morrow or Jomo walk in the open market? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. The Eagles are going to have to answer it, but it's a fair.
Yeah, it's a difficult conversation. I mean, if Jalen Carter plays like he did in 2024, I think it's an easy question. He's a difference maker. He's a game wrecker.
100%. I agree with that. Yep.
But he wasn't that guy last year. People, again, you have to have difficult conversations. And you can say it's strictly because of the shoulders, and you might be right. And if he's 100% now with time to rest, and then everything should be fine. And then you're willing to pay the Jerry Jones tax. But the idea that you're going to keep doing that and keep having questions and everybody keeps hitting in a positive fashion, like that part's going to take care of itself. Like if you have questions, some of it's going to go negatively. Some of it, goes negatively, even if you don't have questions.
Right.
So as long
as the other part of it, John, which I think is very real, it's still future, but it's real to me, is you got guys coming up also outside of these players.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm not waiting to take the Jerry Jones tax on Quinyon Mitchell. I'm paying him as soon as he's eligible.
That is the plan. Now, if he goes in and plays, things change quickly, which I don't see it.
Yeah, Quinyon's getting paid, I think. Cooper DeJean, what are you paying him? I mean, you don't want to take the tax on him. And remember, you can't pick up a 5th-year option on Cooper.
No, they're both right now, today, they're both getting done immediately. And they will set the market with Quinyon Mitchell, and they will be setting a new market for Cooper DeJean, and they'll be willing to do it. As long as it doesn't become an organizational philosophy, it's smart to wait.
I agree with that. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
It's an organizational philosophy in Dallas. That's the problem.
Right. I mean, I don't want to get too far ahead here, but the next offseason looks like it's going to be insane. I mean, Quinyon.
Well, I don't think it's going to be insane at all, because Quinyon's going to probably play well this year, and Cooper's going to probably play well this year.
Okay, so they're getting paid. If you got to pay Carter, if you got to pay Jalen Hurts, you got to figure out maybe DeVonta Smith, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of dudes coming up here, J-Mac. You're talking about big.
Well, yeah, I mean, the standpoint, obviously, of the quarterback, yeah, it'll be a circus. But I mean, in general, most of the decisions won't be difficult for them. That's what I'm saying. They're not going to be hemming and hawing about Quinion and Cooper. If they stay healthy and continue to play well. The other ones are questions because they're legitimate questions. I mean, yeah, those aren't changing.
Right.
And then you have to ask it, you're going to have to answer, but what is Saquon? Where's Saquon? So those are two of the, arguably from a high profile standpoint, those are the two biggest names on the team, Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. And they're both,
And what do you think Saquon would have to do this year for it to not be his last year in Philly? Pretty good, right? 1,500 yards.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty damn good. And even then you start talking about, post 30, all the touches. I mean, yeah, this is, if you're a betting man, I would say this is probably going to be the end of the road for Saquon in Philadelphia. And that's why I say they're going to run him till the wheels fall off. Yeah, I think they know that going in. Take advantage of the shelf life while the shelf life has still got some legs, pun intended, to it.
Yeah, right. Well, we'll see what happens. A lot of contracts coming up. Going to be interesting to see how Howie handles it all. Obviously, first order of business is this season coming up here, 19 days out from reporting to training camp. I don't know what we are from the home opener. I think it's about 60 something days. Somebody can check me on that. I'm going to say it's 65 days, maybe 66 days
a late
until the
season opener this year.
Yeah, September 13th. It is a later opener, J-Mac.
Yeah, and they played like the last game is like deeper into January.
Oh, is 9th, it? I didn't even see that. Yeah.
January 9th or 10th, week 18, you can play Saturday or Sunday.
Right.
It's probably going to be Sunday at 1:00. January 10th.
Yeah, January 10th.
At MetLife Stadium. Boy, what an atmosphere that'll be. The annual Tanner McKee game.
Yeah, probably will be. Actually, is it going to be the Dalton game this year? It might be the Andy Dalton game.
No, I don't believe. What I saw from Andy Dalton in the spring was I don't think there's a lot of juice left in the arm. Yeah. But we'll see. I was surprised Tanner didn't play well either. So yeah, it was not good for the quarterbacks in the spring.
Well, we'll see how it shakes out this year. We got 2 super chats, and then we'll go into our next topic here, upcoming. Here's Wild Bear. What's up, Wild Bear? Member for 17 months. Thank you for your support of the channel. That's quite a bit of time. Hey, Z, welcome back, man. Great to be back. Anyhow, how do you feel about the moves the Sixers have been making? No Paul George or Oubre plus Jalen Brown. I love the moves. I mean, I wasn't a big Kelly Oubre guy. I won't lie to you. I wasn't the biggest fan of Kelly Oubre. Paul George is obviously past his prime, and I think you go and get a player in Jalen Brown who, is a feisty, physical player, plays with an attitude. I think he fits the city perfectly, and I think he's a damn good player. I think he averaged 28 or 29 points last year in the absence of Jason Tatum. So I think it's a great move for the Sixers. What are they going to do with Embiid? I don't know, John. I'm kind of off on Joel Embiid, man. I wouldn't be upset if they traded him. I understand that's hard to do, but I think he's like, what were you calling him last year? The ball stopper?
Yeah, well, he's been that for years.
I know. It's like, I'm tired of it. You got 2 young guards who are fast, can get to the bucket, can create a shot. Let him create a shot. Now you add Jalen Brown on the wing. I think Embiid's messing this thing up a little bit.
Little bit. And sometimes that happens. You talk about, when the ball stops in an offense, and in the case of, look, I mean, nobody's criticizing the talent level. Nobody ever has. And if they have, they're probably, either don't know what they're watching or completely disingenuous, but can't count on the guy. Period. So Why would you build a team around a guy you can't count on? And if you want to make all the excuses in the world and, just blame the injuries, but there's enough stories about, when he is injured, not keeping in shape and all those things. It's not a guy you build a winning culture around, and it's proven over a large sample size now, in my opinion.
What
for
is
all
he
the
right
baby
now?
years.
The third option on the team, probably.
Well, right now, he's still one from their perspective from when we left off when he's healthy.
Well, if that's their take coming into this year, that's a tragedy.
That's got to change.
Yeah,
that's got to change. They signed like the Knicks' third string center, who's 7 foot, big dude.
Yeah, I saw that.
Who's, I don't know. I haven't seen it. He hasn't played a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of projection there. Every time he hits the floor, he fouls, 70 people, right away. So they have to teach him. But he's got some skill. He's got some talent, But you need somebody to play center. And I'm not sure if it's Ariel Hukporti. I don't know. I'm probably butchering his name, but can he set a pick? It's almost like, can he be a role player? And then they signed Dean Wade, who everybody's, he scores 4 points. Yeah, but he's a defensive player. He's a good defensive player.
Good defensive player. Yeah, gritty, right?
I'd like to have a better rebounder, but we'll see how that works out. They seem to be building a team now, which they haven't done for many years. So it
just feels like a team that needs a traditional center, though.
Well, that's the thing. Can you count on Hukporti to be that? And again, by traditional center, can he defend? Can he rebound? Can he
rebound and defend? That's right. That's what I need.
Exactly. That's it. And they brought back Bona, who interests me. And I know a lot of people. I'm like, that dude is a tremendous shot blocker. Tremendous.
Yeah, he was a
shot blocker.
Yeah, very good.
But again, when he hits the floor, he's got 4 fouls inside of 5 minutes. You got to teach him how to stay in the game. But, I almost want a role player at center, somebody who can defend and rebound,
right,
and block shots. And you're fine with Maxey and Edgecombe and Jalen Brown. And obviously to close games, even if Joel Embiid is here, if that ball is going through Joel Embiid to close games, Nick Nurse has got to go, man. You got Jalen Brown and Tyrese Maxey.
I know. That's ridiculous. It almost feels like one of those things where the coach doesn't even want it to go through Embiid. He just feels like it has to go through Embiid.
Exactly. Well, it is. I don't know because I don't cover the team anymore, but it's felt that way for years that, they do it to make him happy. And they bent over backwards for this guy for a decade. It's time to change. And they probably can't trade him. Although if Gansey trades him, he's getting executive of the year from me. If he can figure out a way to do that and dump that contract. But he's obviously more willing to say, he doesn't show up in the office every day saying, "Oh, I can't do anything," like the previous regime. "Oh, we can't do anything. We're screwed."
Yeah, let's give Embiid another extension.
Get the freaking work. And that's why that Jalen Brown trade surprised so many people, because the previous Sixers mindset would have been, can we acquire this guy? Well, they did. More than one way to do things. Perfect example of it.
Yeah. I do love the addition of Jalen Brown too. Big fan of the player, and I think
cousin of AJ Brown, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. Is that confirmed now?
I don't know if it's confirmed, but
I saw somebody write that out though. Yeah, I saw that the other day.
Yeah. Well, Jalen said it. He said he found out that they're cousins. I don't know if it's true.
Oh, that's where it came from. Okay,
yeah.
Jalen said it on his stream. I didn't know that.
Yeah. during an interview. I don't know if it was a stream, but he did say it.
Okay. Interesting. Wild Bear, thanks for the chat. Here's Devin Shanahan. What's up, Dev? Member for 20 months. Thank you, Devin. He says this, Big Z, I know you're not a Flyers guy, but if we get this Carlson kid, you better hurry up and hop on the wagon. Also, the process is back on. We just talked Sixers. As far as the Flyers go, Devin, I always say this. I'm not a fan of the Flyers, but I'm a fan of Philadelphia, and I always root for Philadelphia to win. So if the Flyers are good, I won't be mad about it. I won't jump on your bandwagon because I'm not a fan of that. But that Leo Carlson can play. Excuse me. So that would be a excuse me. That would be a good addition for the.
I defer to Zander with the hockey stuff.
I'd like to see Philly win, man. I mean, when's the last time the Flyers were a good team, Devin? I mean, really. I remember when they went to the Stanley Cup. I think it was 2009, and Patrick Kane scored the goal from damn near the goal line on Scott Layton. I believe it was, and he's streaking up the ice, and nobody could know if the goal went in or the puck actually went in. I remember that like it was yesterday. Philly Don with the chat. What's up, Philly Don? Member for 22 months, so we had 17, 20, and 22. Look at that. Thank you, guys. He says this. Welcome back, Z. J-Mac, not to change the subject, but why the hell are the Eagles so committed to Jake Elliott, and do you see them bringing in someone in camp to challenge him?
No. But I brought up yesterday, I was talking about the Aaron Cepas thing, like, Howie's loyalty. Howie's very loyal. Sometimes it hurts him. I do believe he should have competition, but specialists are a little bit different than, regular players. They are players, but you get the point. They're competing against everybody else as well. So if you perform poorly, it's easy to bring in a specialist, a kicker, a punter. And I use Aaron Cepas coming off the Super Bowl. Eagles probably shouldn't have brought him back. Probably shouldn't have let him kick in the Super Bowl, to be honest. Should have let Brett Kern kick. But they brought him back because they were loyal to him, and he started the next season really poorly. And a couple weeks in, Braden Mann was here, and all the issues have calmed down. So you can make a change quickly. But I do agree that their hope is that he fixes the issues, and, he's been a great kicker and they have tremendous loyalty to him. Their only, Super Bowl kicker, so to speak. So they're going to give him the shot. And if he starts performing poorly again a month in, don't be surprised if somebody else is here pretty quickly. I don't think he'll have the long leash this year.
Good stuff there, Philly Don. Appreciate everybody for being here today. Philly Don, I'm with you, my friend. I don't know why they're doing this. Me and John have talked about Jake Elliott before. I wish they would move on from him, but good stuff. Appreciate all you guys checking in. Devin, I think I mistaken. I said Scott Layton. I think it was Michael, right? Michael Layton was the goalie. Scott is a player, not a goalie. I forgot about that. But I misspoke there. I think it's Michael Layton was the Flyers goaltender at the time.
What was that process comment too? Can I have that explained? Because if you're going to the Sixers with the process, I mean,
the process is back on.
Can we stop with that? Is that what that was referring to?
I think so.
I mean,
I think it's just his way to say the Sixers are back.
Yeah. Well, the Sixers are back because they did something opposite of the
John,
process.
the process has become like their mascot.
I know.
Like
it's bizarre. I mean, they'll hold on to the grim death. It's like, it's funny. You can ask Mike Gill this next time he's on. The first week, I told Mike Gill, and we had some legendary battles that people still remember on the radio down there. To the point where we were at, I think it was Harris Casino. People thought we were going to get in a fight. We weren't, but they thought we were. I told Mike like 2 weeks in, I said, you guys, you do realize, he's a big process guy. You have all built in that you can never be wrong. You've already made the decision you can never be wrong, because it can go on forever. As long as you keep losing, Eventually, you'll get the best player and you'll get the difference-making player. And sure enough, that's the way it unfolded. And it's funny to me until they pulled the plug, and then it was all, oh, they needed to give Sam Iggy more chances, more time. And for somebody talking about, they did the exact opposite. They got a big-time freaking player who was 6th in the MVP, probably should have been higher, 6-time All-Star, whatever. Big-time player. They didn't say we're gonna lose. That would have been the old mentality. That would have been Daryl Morey bringing about. He was like, we can't do anything. Oh, we got to wait it out. We got to wait it out with Embiid and Paul George. That would have been the old mentality. They completely shifted, and it's a positive thing. But why this is done, and the sports aren't the same. But you know what's the same? Culture. The fact that these people exist in the city of the Philadelphia Eagles, who I will criticize them when they need to be criticized, but they are a damn good organization. I say it all the time.
Yeah.
You don't build a winning culture by losing, period.
It's amazing that has to be explained.
Winners do not operate like that. They do not. It is so simple to me. It's like you can't just say, well, we're not in a position, so we're gonna wait and we're gonna wait and we're gonna wait and we're gonna build up. Look, Joel Embiid might be the most talented big man in the history of basketball, just from a pure talent perspective. Do you think he has the same mindset to win as Michael Jordan or LeBron James? Have you seen that? Can you see that?
Not even close. Are you kidding me?
The fact that, and again, with the Eagles and the way they run things, and people say, are they setting up Jalen Hurts to fail? My quick answer is no. They're not setting up anybody to fail. That's not how they operate. They might make bad decisions. Everybody makes bad evaluations, bad decisions. I think they made a bad decision by shifting to this scheme instead of taking advantage with Jalen Hurts. Hey, I'm honest. I think that's bad. I don't think it's going to be as dramatic as other people do, but I think that's a bad decision. But they don't operate like losers. And that's why they're better than half the teams in this league before they even start building a roster in a specific year because of their mindset. Like a lot of people, everybody's trying to win. I say it all the time. No, they're not. There's a bunch of teams not trying to win. It could be ownership. It could be whatever reason. You know, look at what Miami's doing. They're breaking it down to the studs. It amazes to me you have so many people who are Sixers process fans, and of course they're Eagles fans, most of them in Philadelphia, and they see the way the Eagles operate. And they love it, and they think it's fine for another team to act like losers for a decade and think they're just going to turn it on. Doesn't work that way.
No doubt. Good stuff. Johnny Mack, good explanation there. And it's a blessing that the Eagles don't operate like losers, right? Everybody watching this show, I presume you're an Eagle fan or at least have some interest in the Eagles. We are not watching a losing organization. That's a blessing. Here's Brando Shreds. What's up, Brando? He says this, $10 super chat. Thank you, man. Other than McVay trading Goff for Stafford, is there any other instance where a team getting rid of a proven good quarterback for a slightly better quarterback has resulted in a Super Bowl win? Hashtag Jalen trade speculation.
Trade? Probably not. I mean, I would have to. I mean, most good quarterbacks don't get traded, number one. A little bit changed, a little bit more upheaval. I mean, people thought Nick was good, and they traded him for Sam Bradford. It's not resulting in championships, obviously. It did eventually, but in a different way. You know, but normally, I mean, Detroit got close, obviously, but they didn't win it. I mean, but I would object to the premise of the question because it assumes that the quarterback is winning Super Bowls by himself. So that's number one. But generally, if you're a team that's going to make a Super Bowl, you don't have uncertainty at the quarterback position. So you're generally going to take a step back, and even Detroit, who both of those quarterbacks played at a high level. It took them a while to get there. Get the Rams took a while for the Rams to get back up to speed. Took a while for Detroit to get going. So, I mean, generally, it's going to take a while, and that's why it's so unique what Seattle did last year, because it was Sam's first year with them, not a trade but free agency. You generally need some time to develop the chemistry, but normally, if you're a good team, you don't have uncertainty at the quarterback position.
Well, we'll see what ends up happening with Jalen.
And the
Hurts.
Eagles still don't have uncertainty at the quarterback position.
No, I don't think they do, but I do think they're, like you said. I mean, they are in a wait and see mode, aren't they? To some extent.
Well, but I think that's related more to the money. I like if you you can't.
I don't know. It feels bigger than just that, John, because they've abandoned the style of play that the quarterback excels in, or at least.
Well, I agree with that. But that's more about they think teams have caught up, which again I disagree with them with. But and they feel they have to go in a different direction, which I think is more groupthink than usual. From the Eagles' perspective. And again, for all the talk about Jalen Hurts, and I get it, he's the quarterback, I think it has more to do about the running game than the passing game. Getting that back up to speed. But if you were able to pay Jalen Hurts like $35 million, like I think they're fine moving forward. I think the discussion becomes, because the stipend is going to be enormous for another contract. I think that changes the trajectory. Like, can't prove it because it'll never happen. But if he's a $35 million quarterback, like I think there's no problem that moving on and continuing to try to build up around him and take advantage of the shelf life. I think if you have to pay him $60 million, I think that's what changes the equation.
Yeah, well, aren't you in theory going to have to pay him that? I mean, is Nicole Lynn going to say, "Oh yeah, I'll take a bump from 51 to 55"?
I doubt it. But
they're going to want to set the market too.
Well, that's why.
I think it was. I don't want to speak for you. Well, your article framed it as what, John? I think you used quasi audition. Is that what you used?
Perhaps I write and read so much.
Something like that. I mean, I thought it was a fair way to place it. I mean, they've gotten rid of the best playmaker here, and they're asking him to go and be better. I mean, it feels like they have put him in a tough.
Well, I mean, the toughest question for me to answer, because I don't have the answer, is like, who's responsible for taking the +1 out of the running game, and why have they done it? So there's two parts to that question. But like, if that's gone, And again, if you're going to run this system the way that Kyle Shanahan runs the system, it's gone, because you're going to be under center the vast majority of the time. You can't run, zone reads, and you can't run RPOs from under center. I'm not talking about scrambling. I'm talking about, design runs. If you're taking it out of the offense, I do not believe Jalen Hurts is a $60 million quarterback. If it's in the offense at a high level, I think he's a $60 million quarterback.
Maybe. We'll see what happens there. Brando, good super chat. John, real quick, we spent a lot of the first hour talking about Jalen Carter. I just saw Jeremy Fowler tweeted out. He did his list now here on
D tackles.
Yep. And the number one on the list is Leonard Williams from Seattle.
Wow.
Number two on the list is Jeffrey Simmons, who just got paid the big deal. And number three on the list is Jalen Carter.
Wow, I'm surprised. I'm surprised. Surprised he's that high.
So he talked about in the first paragraph there how one of the tougher evaluations in the top 10. Obviously, an immensely talented player with 2 Pro Bowls, but modest pass rush production, dipped in 2025. And some even said that he's not the best defensive tackle on his own team, opting for Jordan Davis. Here's a quote. He flashes 10 times a game, but gets dragged far too often by average players, according to NFL coordinator said. So, look, kind of like what you've talked about, John. Obviously, a player that people know how talented he is, but there is some discussion about, whether he's worth the big contract. But he did come in at number 3 on the defensive tackle list, ahead of Chris Jones, who was number 4, and Derek Brown, number 5, Quinnen Williams with Dallas Cowboys, number 6, Dexter Lawrence.
A lot of respect. Jordan Davis, number 10. A lot of respect for the Philadelphia Eagles, for those who think they don't get respect. I mean, we just talked about Jordan Davis as well. He's still a 2-down player, and they're putting him number 10.
That's pretty amazing that Davis is 10. Milton Williams is 9.
Yeah. A good quote there. He's just so fucking strong and consistent. And he's gotten better as he's gotten older and in better shape. Well, yeah, he wasn't consistent. Last year he was. That's the whole point. Carter is the better talent, but Davis had the better season. That's true. Yeah, a lot of respect for the Eagles. I'm surprised by this list. The number. I'm surprised Leonard Williams was one. Had a great season, but I'm surprised because he's 32, I think, 33 maybe. But he's a really good player. But surprised he's 1. Simmons being 2 doesn't surprise me. Carter being that high surprises me. Chris Jones 4, I thought he'd be higher, but I mean, that's still pretty good. Derek Brown's a really good player. Not, playing in Carolina, I think hurts him. Quinnen Williams, obviously very good. Dexter Lawrence a little bit lower than I would have expected, but coming off probably his worst year. That's why. Similar to Jalen Carter. But Carter got I would have thought Dexter would get the reputation boost more than Carter. But Carter's so talented. I mean, the talent level is just ridiculous. So guys get enamored by that. Zach Allen's underrated. Milt's great. Think about that. You had Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. And now Morrow's pretty freaking good himself.
Maybe Morrow makes this list next year. Holy moly.
But Milton's a damn good player. And to the point, I'm like, when he got that contract, I was like, he's not going to live up to that. He lived up to it in New England. Without those guys. He's a damn good player. He's a good dude too. But
yeah, I was a fan too.
I mean, and then some of the honorable mention guys: Byron Murphy, DeForest Buckner, Vita Vea, Cam Hayward, Kobe Turner, Osa, Adigizawa, Kenny Clark, David Onyemata. Eagles have been loaded at defensive tackle for a long time now.
Yeah, they have. No doubt about it. Pretty impressive there. Multiple
and
Eagles.
They still are. I think it's their deepest position.
Well, we'll see. Here's one more super chat. Then we got to get to our next topic. Brando Shreds. What's up, Brando? Again, a $10 super chat. Zander, this will be the second time the Eagles had to abandon the style of play. Jalen excelled at the RPO game, making him a near MVP, and the league forced him to abandon it. Glad you're back. Good to be back, Brandon.
Well, the league did make tweaks. Not,
just made it harder to run that as much.
Yeah, they weren't. I mean, to be fair, they weren't officiating it correctly. So, I mean, I think people get used to the college game, which is like the wild, wild west. So you run an RPO in college and you got an offensive lineman 3 yards down the field. And, nobody pays attention to it. Can't do that in the NFL. And that's what the Eagles got all those downfield penalties, illegal man downfield. That's what it was about. It's a timing play. And if you don't, because remember, an RPO to an offensive lineman, that's a run play. So as the quarterback, you have to make the decision quickly because they're going downfield. They're going to the second level. And if they start seeping downfield, it's going to get called in the NFL. Doesn't get called as much as it should in college. So I think that's where there's a disconnect. But the NFL's doing it right. College is doing it wrong. The rule is, you can't go downfield.
Yeah, fair enough. Brandon, thanks for the super chat, brother. Appreciate it. All right, John, my next topic is this. I've seen this all over the Eagles social media amongst the fan base, and I want you to have a chance to either say it's fair or tell them tell them it's foolish. I've seen a lot of people discuss the loss of A.J. Brown, and I'm not talking about A.J. Brown. I'm talking about people saying or people making the case it's addition by subtraction. You don't have to force the ball to him anymore. Did they get rid of a locker room? At the very least, he was a magnet for attention in the locker room. I don't think he was a locker room cancer. You tell me all the time that people love him in the locker room, but he was a magnet for attention. Is there any merit? Is there any reason to consider this the potential for addition by subtraction when you lose a player as good as A.J. Brown? Is there a silver lining here, John, that they could be better without A.J. Brown?
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're hoping. There's different ways to do things. I say it all the time. So you have to play differently if you lose a great player. One thing I've said from the start, the Eagles interviewed 17 guys to be the offensive coordinator this year. I said they could hire any of the 17, and this is not a knock on anybody. Sean Mannion, Kevin Patullo, they could have brought Kevin Patullo back. They're going to be better on offense this year. They're going to be better on offense this year. I've said it from day one because so many people had bad seasons last year on offense or under their typical performance level. And generally when that happens, guys are going to bounce back and guys are going to play better and guys are going to adjust. So just from that standpoint, but, and then the second part is you don't want unhappy people in the locker room. You don't want hostages. You want volunteers.
Right.
The great Mike Tomlin quote. You don't want that. Chemistry is a real thing. Not that people didn't like AJ because they like AJ, but it became a problem. And he was trying to do, what he thought was best. And ultimately, I think everybody agrees with AJ's complaints. And I think you saw during the whole, before people turned on him, you saw that when they thought he was still here, he was still an Eagle. They're like, well, he's right. Most people. And he was right. But it was just, becoming a negative on the ledger, so to speak.
And I do think AJ let it seep onto the field. I know you haven't gone that
well,
far.
I push back. I push back against effort. People say, "Oh, he's not trying." That I think is bullshit. But I do think, and I've said it pretty consistently, I do think he lost focus at times because he was so frustrated. So it's just framing to me. He's too competitive he's going to, same thing. He's trying to make Jalen look better. That part's bullshit, but
I don't think he was trying to make anybody look bad. And I get why you don't like the word effort, but in a way, you can kind of conflate the two. If his focus was so down that he didn't perform anywhere close to the level of the player that he is, if someone wants to call that effort, it's kind of the same thing to me.
I don't even think it's remotely the same thing. Effort means you're not trying to me, which, that's not his nature. Look at the guy.
Well, how does he drop 3 balls in a game for a player that really never drops passes?
Well, because you're not focused.
Okay.
Yeah. There's a difference between. It's literally
great effort leads to great focus. Poor effort leads to poor focus.
I don't agree. They're different things.
Well, they are different things, but they can apply to one another in terms of, if you are giving 100%,
the assumption. Look at it. Look at the way he takes care of himself. Look at the way, look at what he's obsessed with.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to say he wasn't. Yeah, I get where you're going with that. But on the field.
And you're telling me that guy's not trying? Like, he doesn't know he doesn't know how to not try. But when you add in frustration and when you add in, they're not listening to me and this and that. And Tom Brady was on. People should listen to Tom Brady on Kelsey's podcast.
I did. I listened to it. He
was talking about wide receivers, and there's always going to be, problems because they all want the ball. And there's, the best quarterback ever talking about it. You get frustrated and you lose focus. That to me is completely different than effort. It just is. And if there's, like Saquon's the same way. It's like he drops balls all the time because he's not the best hands catcher. He's not, and he bobbles. You never heard me question that guy's effort. He's just not, he's not a natural catcher of the football.
Yeah, but wouldn't you agree to the fact that persistent lack of focus could lead to diminished effort, even if not intentional?
Yeah, I just don't agree with that. And again, his worst season, still over 1,000 yards, and
but he had his worst blocking year. He had his most drops, especially in big moments.
Well, he definitely had his most drops.
There were several times, John, where on video it looked like he pulled up on a route. Now, I understand you don't like that because you're like, you never know what's going on there. I understand that, but all these things add up, plus the frustration that he that he clearly said. I think it's fair to at least point out that the lack of focus that you call it seeped onto the football field and impacted the team negatively. Now, if you don't want to call it effort, all right, that's fine.
I don't know. Like when I one of the most controversial things I said this year was I think my opinion is AJ Brown was a better receiver for the Philadelphia Eagles than T.O., and everybody loses their fucking mind. And the only reason I bring that up again is he's the fucking king of drops for star receivers. Like, people just make this shit up.
Yeah, but that was more of a consistent trait for him.
So
it's not for
is
AJ.
Is he not showing effort?
No, but I'm saying it's more of an inherent quality of the player. It's not for AJ, and it showed up, which would insinuate that something was different.
Yeah,
like T.O. drops all the time. As talented as he was, he dropped in, as you pointed out before, the seasons where you laid out how many drops he had. It was kind of a part of his skill set. One of the negatives of his skill set. That wasn't for AJ. That was never the case for AJ, which is why I'm making the case that, it did seep onto the field. Now, if you don't want to use the word effort, I'm fine with that because I get where you're coming from. He was still working out and doing all those different things. It's not to say that he didn't care, but the frustrations got the better of him, and that negatively impacted the team for sure. I think, at least in my opinion, it did.
Well, it did. It did in the playoff game when he was dropping passes that he typically doesn't drop. But the ultimate, the quickness with like a Tariq Woolen 40 that people run to lack of effort when players don't perform is really difficult for me with players who give effort that he gets. Now, sometimes it's true, and there's obvious guys who don't give proper effort, and they're generally called out by the coaches, and generally, at least, maybe not publicly, but privately, and you hear about it, and they generally don't play, but yeah, this is not that guy. I mean, yeah, frustration, yes. I just don't agree with that word. I don't agree with that word in that circumstance.
Yeah,
that he didn't show effort, that he showed up in the playoffs. The guy who's obsessed with being a Hall of Famer, the guy who's obsessed with being the top receiver in football, doesn't show up in the biggest moment where everybody knows is, yeah, I don't buy it.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. I mean, I would disagree that I do think they can, affect each other. I think of, and you're going to hate you will hate this analogy, be my guess, but I think of an all-time classic movie, especially in the City of Brotherly Love, when Apollo Creed is trying to train Rocky Balboa after Mickey died, and Rocky's head's just not in the game. Damn, Rock, come on! There is no tomorrow. He wasn't focused. He wasn't giving the effort because he wasn't focused.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I hate that.
I know you do. I'm just saying.
I saw the movie once and never watched it again. Other than Rocky 1, I haven't seen any of the sequels more than – that's not true. The Hulk Hogan one I've seen a couple of times, but whatever number that is.
3. That was 3.
But yeah, I haven't seen that in years. Yeah.
I'm just saying, when your head isn't in it.
And the worst thing that ever happened is telecast with and I went through this with Randy Moss, the isolation camera. When you're running a go route and you're running 50 yards down the field in Randy's case 4.2 speed, and then the next play, they're running to Robert Smith off the right side, and you're lined up on the left side, and he walks off the line of scrimmage. Oh, my God. Every receiver in football. Happens to every receiver, but they play it up because somebody has a reputation or somebody has that. And I was there, and I said, I believe it was his 6th season when he tore his hamstring, 5th, 6th season. I'd have to look at it correctly, but to nail it down. But in that entire time, that guy, because he was such an athletic freak, people assumed he didn't work hard for whatever reason. Like, you can have that skill and that ability and not work. He never missed a practice, never mind a game, in that entire, until he tore his hamstring. And when he tore his hamstring, he still went out and played and as a decoy. I mean, the narratives that I do try to, as best I can, try to educate people as best as possible when it comes. I mean, the behind the scenes stuff that these guys go through, a lot of times is just ridiculous. And that's why I like that quarterback show to show you what some of the quarterbacks go through to play on Sunday. And they're not even on the injury report.
That was the good part of that Seth Wickersham article yesterday about the Broncos.
Yeah, that was great. Everybody should read that.
Yeah, that was
everybody
really
should read that. But no, I have a very difficult time. Players who are that good generally don't lack effort.
That's ever. Fine. Back to the original question, though, John. Is it pie in the sky to assume that there could be a team could be better without a player as good as AJ Brown? Because I don't think it's pie in the sky at all. I think they are going to be better. I've said that it didn't matter if Kevin Patullo was back; they're going to be better. If Sean Mannion, if Zach Robinson, but your take on that is different than the fans' take.
Well, I know, but yes,
the fans think they're going to be better because they got rid of AJ Brown. I don't think that's your take.
No, not at all.
Yeah, right.
They're going to get better.
They're very different.
The natural inclination of bounce backs from a bunch of guys. Again, everybody on that offense had a down season with the exception of DeVonta Smith, who I think maintained. I don't think he improved, but I think he maintained. In Tyler Steen, who wasn't a starter, so you didn't have a judging point. Everybody else, all 9 players, were worse than they were the year prior,
right? Which
doesn't happen a lot, and for different reasons. Maybe Saquon, maybe it was the workload. With Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson, it was obvious it was injury related. With Jordan Mailata, it's, the bar was so high from 20, you couldn't reach it, basically. With Dallas Goedert, maybe it was the contract. Who knows? With AJ, frustration. With Jalen, the +1. What's going on there? But, who's responsible for that? Or is he just descending? I don't know. You better hope not. Every single player, with the exception of DeVonta. And that probably isn't going to happen again, even with aging players. Like Lane, if he's healthy, he's going to be better. Landon, if he's healthy, he's going to be better. Cam, he's already healthier. I'm confident in that. He's going to be better. Jordan, probably not going to be to 2024, but he might get better than he was last year. Dallas, in this offense, if there's one player that should be helped by this projected offense, it should be Dallas Goedert.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Saquon will be helped by the scheme as well and having more options.
Have you shifted some of your thought process on the patience of Saquon as a runner, just based on what he responded to you from an inside versus outside zone scheme?
No, because I'm mainly leaning on the film. He's not the most patient runner. I think
no, but I didn't mean about him being patient. I more meant that his answer was that basically it doesn't matter as much as you were thinking it mattered. Maybe you disagree with Saquon. That's fine too.
Yeah, I disagree with him, but that's fine. That's his belief, and that's obviously he's the one. I think the strength of his game is the jump cut. So I think he looks at it more from the strength of his game, which makes sense. I'm looking at it from the the successful runners in this scheme are generally very patient,
Right.
and you stretch it out, you stretch it out, you stretch it, and then you cut it back.
Right.
And he's saying, he thinks that's easier to do than his jump cut, which he's probably right. I mean, because I haven't seen a jump cut like Saquon since Adrian Peterson. There's like probably 3 people in the world who can do it, maybe. So from his perspective, but that's why I don't, I think more Le'Veon Bell for this offense. But I use him as the most patient runner I've ever seen. It's probably pie in the sky, but even if you look at, Kenneth Walker last year, more of that as in the run to the Super Bowl, more of that style. And in some ways, it's a little bit like Jalen in that I don't think the laboratory version of this offense, in other words, when everything is done perfectly, I don't think it suits Saquon, but I think when you put it into practice, just the fact that you're under center will give him more options. Like he might not stretch it out like the coaches wanted to, but he'll just jump cut it and get a big play anyway. So I don't think it's going to hinder him, but I don't think he's a natural for the system. I think being under center is going to help Saquon.
Right.
And it already did. You already saw it last year. When they shifted last year and did it more, that's when he got better. Wasn't as good as 2024, obviously, but that was an execution problem.
How important do you think it is, John, that they start to use the middle of the field?
Not that important. Not that important. I mean, a little bit more because you have receivers more. Like that's where Mekhi Lemon and Dontavian Wicks will live, presumably. So you have to do it.
Goddard too.
Well, yeah, he's a tight end. So a little bit more, but I don't think it's about I don't think it's about going into we have to throw it in the middle of the field 10 times. I don't think it's about that.
Yeah, I don't think it's about that. I just think, when you have NFL defenses that are as good as they are, if you don't prove you're a threat in all the areas of the field, it just naturally makes it easier to defend. That's not to say you can't be successful, but, these are good defenses. If you say, hey, I'm not going to use 30% of the field, well, their life just got a little easier, versus if you prove, even if it's not a set number, all right, if you don't take it away, we're going to beat you there. I think that makes things easier for them as an offense to operate.
I'm gonna go Occam's razor, pronouncing it correctly or not. Turn 2nd and 10 to 2nd and 5, and you're fine.
All right,
you're fine. Ryan. I mentioned Ryan a couple times this week. Ryan Paganetti's on X now because he's not working for an organization. He's been putting up some great stuff.
Yeah, I saw his thing on Sneaks yesterday that you retweeted.
Yeah. He's also been doing like play callers and he's been talking about how Ben Johnson has put people in a blender on 2nd and 1. Nobody is more apt to, like most people take the first down. Ben Johnson treats it as a free play and is more likely to throw the ball. And he's really had a lot of success doing it. Obviously, he's had a lot of success, but it really is the secret to NFL offense is keeping both aspects on the table. You can run and pass. And if they're both on the table, you're going to be good. And if one of them is off the table, you're going to be bad. That's it. People want to make it more difficult than it is. So here's the tweet. The NFL's most common overcorrection, running on 2nd and 10 after a first down incompletion, is one of them. So, some teams are like, and some of this has to do with the quarterback, by the way. Like, poor Kevin O'Connell last year with JJ McCarthy. So every time they had an incompletion on first down, he felt he had to run it just to get something positive, because the quarterback play was so bad. So that factors into it as well. But when you look at Ben Johnson's success, the whole thing it boils down to is everything. Nobody passes more on 2nd and 1 than Ben Johnson, or 2nd and short. And nobody runs more on 3rd and medium, like 3rd and 5, than Ben Johnson. So if you're a defensive coordinator and you're playing Ben Johnson, you're like, well, they're going to throw you. That's your whole goal as a defense, to make somebody one-dimensional. That's your whole goal, especially on 3rd down. And when you're thinking 3rd and 5 against, let's be kind, other than probably 30 of 32 teams, they're going to throw the ball. And Ben Johnson runs it at you. Now, it helps when you have Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, and even in Chicago, where they had Swift had a good year in Monungai. You got to get 3 yards so you can go for it on 4th down. But it's always on the table. If the Eagles are in 2nd and 3rd and manageable, they will be fine. If they're not, they're going to have a lot of problems. And it's not about outside the numbers, not about inside the numbers. It's about keeping both options open.
It'll be interesting to see. This is going to be an interesting year, Johnny Mac, with this team. I'm curious to see how it shakes out. Are you confident that Sean Mannion will be an upgrade over Kevin Petula?
Yes, I think Kevin Petula would be an upgrade over Kevin Petula. Again, I think, you're starting from a standpoint where it was not quite as bad as people portrayed it, but, from a standpoint of expectations, pretty much a disaster. So, even for some reason, if the Eagles showed some patience and brought him back, I thought the offense would be better. I thought, I think it'll be better with Sean. I think it would have been better with Josh Grizzard, with Jared Johnson, with Zach Robinson, with everybody else they interviewed. Yeah, I think it's going to be better. Now, successful is the key. Being better is not the goal, because you had such a bad season.
What about if you left out the success of the team and just looked at a vacuum of what the offensive coordinator job is? Well, is he going to be better play caller? Is he going to be better in-game decision making, in-game adjustments? Is he going to be better at some of those things? I mean, I know you didn't really see it, obviously, the same way that many Eagle fans did, and
then I'll go back. You mentioned Seth's article, Seth Wickersham. Everybody should read it. It's a very long read, so you're going to have to craft out some time. But, one of my favorite parts was, explaining just how fruitless it is to try to judge play calling. Embedded into, the Broncos like nobody else has been in years, probably since Peter King. And, obviously you have one of the best play callers in the NFL, and Sean Payton, and, everybody questions everything. And there's a part in the article which explains why you really have no idea what the intent of the play is. Like even people who are really good at breaking down film, who aren't in the building, do not know the intent of the play on every play. there's some times where it's fairly obvious, but in big time situations, like, you don't know what went wrong. Again, was the execution there? What was the intent? Did they come off the play call? There's 1,000 things. And there's a point in the article where that's explained. I've been trying to explain it for years. Maybe Seth did a better job. I mean, like, I'm not, to be perfectly, I have no problem. I have no ego. I'm not qualified to judge play calling, and I have more access and more experience and more time watching film than the average person, with actual coaches, by the way, and scouts. But that's why I know I know that people don't judge play calling. They judge play results. That's why I know. Believe me, earlier when I didn't have all that, I was like, oh, that's a bad play call. I was like everybody else. It's like, not necessarily. Or that's a good play call. And that's another part of the thing I love. When Sean Payton sits down every week, and Nick does this too, by the way, and he watches every scoring play around the league, and he puts them into 2 folders on his computer. He goes players and plays. All the touchdowns that a player created because of their brilliance or their athletic, he puts in
their talent,
and he throws it essentially out because he can't replicate it as a play caller. You can't just say, "Hey, be that guy, be Randy Moss,
be Bijan Robinson," right?
Yeah. You can't replicate it. And then he puts the ones that are, more related to a good play call or what in a different folder, and he studies them, and maybe he takes stuff from them and puts it into his own offense. But so will he be a better play caller? I know, people think, I know what people think in this town about Kevin Patullo. And I guarantee Kevin Patullo has forgotten more about football than all of those people combined know. And they all think he was a bad play caller. So, will they have better results? Yes, probably. Will he be a good play caller? That probably won't be. That probably won't even be a discussion for 4 or 5 years. Hopefully, if he continues to be in a positive trajectory, will he get to a level of Sean Payton or somebody like that? I mean, that's a years long process. And Payton, by the way, is giving it up, I believe. I believe Davis Webb is going to call.
Yeah, that's right. Wasn't that kind of what he did to keep him there? One of the things that he did.
Yeah. So, but the results are going to be better, and that's all anybody cares about. I do believe the results are going to be better.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. Johnny Mac, 10 minutes left to go in the show today. A lot of good topics today. Appreciate everybody for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. Appreciate our super chats and our member chats as well today. John, just a little quick look around the NFL and the NFC East. I don't know what else broke when I was away for the last couple of weeks in terms of the NFL news, but what's your thought right now or your feeling right now in the NFC East as I look around? I mean, I said yesterday, I don't know if it was on this show or in the afternoon, but I just don't feel like the NFC East is that great yet. I'm not a huge believer in Jackson Dart in the long term. Jaden Daniels, I like, but I think he's really all there is to like about that Commander team.
Yeah,
really,
I'm with you. I still think it's Eagles Cowboys, and I think there's a half and half.
I think the Cowboys are going to be a little better this year. I do, but it also, I got to wait and see because Dak seems to go up and down, up and down. I mean, plays a year, misses a year. So I don't know. I mean, he had a good year last year. Will that continue? I don't know. Just doesn't feel like the division's that great, John.
Yeah, I don't think the Giants are going in the right direction. But they have a long way. They have a long way to go. Washington, I'm with you. I think they have a bad roster. And they just, they believed that their upset over Detroit was more than it was. And I think they made a bunch of missteps, and now they're paying for it. For Dallas, it's all about the defense. The offense is going to be good. It's just a matter of how good. They have too much talent, good offensive line, good quarterback, good running back, good receivers, good tight end. They're just good on offense. Defensively, they were a freaking disaster under Matt Eberflus, and now our old buddy Christian Parker is going to be down there. So how much better did they get on defense? They got some names on the front with Kenny Clark and Rashawn Gary added to Quinnen Williams. The only one I'm confident that's really good is Quinnen Williams, though. I think, the other two are probably descending. And they drafted Malachi Lawrence, who I'm not in love with. The linebackers, you almost have to hope that Obershone is healthier. A year off the injury. He's obviously gifted. I do like Ezeraku, but again, that's and their secondary was a disaster. But Caleb Downs is there, and he was one of my two favorite players in the draft. And they're supposedly going to use him like the Eagles use Cooper DeJean as a, nickelback slap safety type player. So they should be improved, but like they got to go from bottom of the league to, 12, 13, 14 to be. And then I think they can compete with the Eagles. But they're a good team. Not a great team, but a good team. But then, and the Eagles have a higher ceiling, I would say, than the Cowboys. But I would say, and I've said it pretty consistently, the Eagles still have a high ceiling, but their floor is lower than it typically has been.
Right, which I think is a very fair way to frame it.
Yeah. So, I mean, if things go poorly for the Eagles and things go well for the Cowboys, I think you got a real battle for the NFC East.
Well, we will obviously see what that looks like this year with the Cowboys. I do think they're the number one contender to the Eagles. I don't think they're a better team, though. I don't. I mean, I think they've gotten better, but they still got a lot to prove. And the other thing, another thing with Dallas, John, I'm thinking about is, and you rightfully have pointed this out many times ahead of before it even happened. Like George Pickens had a career year last year. Does he come back to earth?
Well, it's going to be hard for him to be.
It's going to be hard to replicate that.
Yeah.
Who's the running back that they had?
Javonte Williams.
Javonte Williams. He had a huge year for him. Does he do that again? That's kind of my questions with the Dallas team of like, all right, the offense was really good last year, but even returning everybody, are they going to be as good? Maybe the defense helps them out a little bit. I don't know. I mean, we'll kind of see there.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair to assume that, but what normally happens is some people go up, some people go down. What normally doesn't happen is everybody goes down, and that's what happened to the Eagles offense.
Right.
Like, with everybody going a negative direction. When it comes to the receivers, though, again, when you talk, he's pretty consistent, Dak Prescott, when he's healthy.
Yeah, when he's healthy, for sure.
You look at it. So in 2021, he played 16 games, threw for 4,449 yards. 2022, he only played 12 games, 2023, played the whole season. He had 4,516, played 8 games. Then he played 17 again last year at 4,552. The point I'm trying to say is, again, he's a high volume thrower. So if you're talking about numbers, the numbers are going to be there. Whether it's Pickens or Lamb or Ferguson or the tight ends or Spoonmaker, whoever else they have, the numbers are going to be there. He's just too good as a thrower. Now, will he get hurt? He seems to have a big year and then gets hurt, has a big year, gets hurt, had a big year, maybe he gets hurt. So you have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And again, the playoffs, different story, hasn't performed in the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. But I mean, their passing game is what the Eagles want. I think Eagles fans want the Eagles passing game to be. But they're different styles of quarterbacks. And he's in the high volume category, Dak Prescott.
Well, we'll see what that looks like this year. John, what other NFL news broke when I was going? Nothing really, right? I know the Simmons contract came down. I guess was there some legal stuff that happened too?
There's always some legal stuff,
yeah.
But nothing Eagles related. So good news there. To date. We talk about Denver. They got the Jonathan Cooper shit. Brandon Ayuk's having a meltdown every freaking day on CMS.
Yeah, what is up with that? And he's like writing that he's coming to the Commanders or something. Is he just trying to like will that into existence?
I don't think the Commanders want any part of him.
That's what I mean. So where'd it come from that he keeps writing, I'll be with the Commanders? I'm like, I don't get it.
Well, and then he turned on Jaden Daniels. Well, the reason he played with Jaden Daniels in college, so I mean, he wanted to, but evidently something happened. So now he doesn't like Jaden Daniels either, and he's saying bad things about it. It's a mess. Brandon's got some issues.
Yeah.
I mean, Geno Smith has had some issues. Poor Jets, man. Oof. Doesn't matter what they do. But yeah, it's from the Eagles standpoint, it's been very quiet, which this time of year, that's a good thing.
Yeah, very true. Very true. All right, Johnny Mac, great show today. Some good topics that we covered on today's show. Jalen Carter, a big area of discussion, which I think is one definitely keep an eye on here. So we'll see how that shakes out. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts here on a Thursday edition of Birds 365.
Yeah, we march on Football Friday. And what's tomorrow? What's tomorrow's date? How close?
Tomorrow's the 10th, July 10th.
10th. So we only got a couple more Football Fridays before we'll actually be in training camp and we'll actually have on-field practice to talk about. So
yeah,
we're inching closer.
And
but thanks to Jeremy Fowler for the list. Jalen Carter, reputational. But hey, I'll tell you what. For all those people that say the Eagles are disrespected, you're having a bad offseason again because Saquon Barkley's still 3, Jalen Carter's 3.
Still 3. Rosters 2.
Offensive lines 2. I mean.
Where did they do the quarterbacks?
No. They'll save them for last.
So we'll see where Jalen falls there. All right, Jalen.
I don't think Jalen's getting the reputation boost, so people will take that as a slight, but yeah. We'll see
what it is. Johnny Mac, great show today. I will catch up with you tomorrow on a Football Friday edition of Birds 365. Thank you, brother.
All right. Thanks, all.
All right. Thanks, J Mac. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. You can give him a follow at JF McMullen. What's going on to the great people of JAKIB Nation? I thought we had some good topics today on the show. Good to be back in the saddle. Good to be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles day in and day out. I missed all the great people of JAKIB Nation. I missed talking birds with you guys all every day. I almost felt like I forgot everything. I left for 2 weeks. I didn't look at the phone. I didn't load up X. I didn't read any of Eagles' Twitter or social media. I didn't even check into JAKIB Sports once. Maybe I was driving myself crazy. I might have been driving myself crazy. So, but it's good to be back, and it's good to keep talking about this team. I love that we are only 19 days away. I believe 19 days away, right? How many days? And when do the Eagles report to training camp this year? It is July 28th. All right. It's 19 days away. 19 days away. So we'll see. It's coming quick. It's coming quick. Jay, did you get an? I did. We did a couple boats over there in the Amalfi Coast. Rich. We did a couple over there in the Amalfi Coast. Rico, it's been a nightmare. I haven't heard much yet. Now needs to be transferred to another dealership. I think I'm going to send it to Sioka Corvette, which is probably the biggest Corvette dealer in the region. So hopefully we'll get some answers, but it's a whole lot of nightmare, my friend, as I knew it would be. So that's the way it should have been, Big Z. I'm not sure. Oh, I guess you're talking about me checking out. Yeah, I checked out. It looked total. I don't know. Cyst. I hope, dude. Really, honestly. If it's not, it's going to stink. The Johnism Jerry Jones tax is good. Yeah, and I think he's right. I think the Eagles got to be careful, though. I mean, that's what I was trying to say to him. He didn't fully follow me, but, if you do it over and over again, if you do it with Carter, you did it with Davis, if you do it with Jalen Hurts, if you do it with DeVonta, that's where you're going to get into a territory. I don't think you want to make that the default, as John said, but, they are doing it now with a couple guys. Jordan Davis, got some big money. Definitely a Jerry Jones tax on that deal. Hopefully Jordan Davis can keep ascending as a player, but we'll see. We'll see. I think the Eagles are still in a good spot. I do. I actually feel better about him now than I did in the heat of the offseason moves, where there was free agency and the draft and all those things. It feels to me that the dust has settled now, that you look around the league, you look around the division, and you're like, have we lost some players? Sure. Do we have to have things go well for us to prevail in terms of the coordinator and, the new offense and, so absolutely. But I look at the team and I'm like, yeah, they're going to be one of the better teams in football, assuming they don't fall completely flat on their face, which I don't think they will. They haven't yet with Nick and Jalen. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening with it. But it does feel like the team is still in a great position. I think we'll still be covering a winning football team this year. I think we'll still have a lot of good to talk about. And as always in Philadelphia, you always have some bad to talk about too. Whether we create it or it's actually bad, I don't know. That's up to you to determine. So Sis says, I wonder how strong. So Sis, it's actually very interesting. There's no steel frame in the C8. It's actually all composite. So it's one of the reasons that they do get totaled out easier. But the complication is this. If you don't get the car to a tech who understands the car and actually can open the car up to see the damage underneath, they'll never get a proper valuation. Like the first body shop that it was at, they said there's $25,000 of damage on the exterior that we can see. But they didn't open the car up at all. So if you get slammed into in the back and you have a composite frame, that connects into the engine bay and the exhaust was all destroyed. I mean, there's damage there underneath that if they don't get in there and diagnose that properly, I'm going to be left with a lick and stick stuck together Corvette that's going to be brutal. So like I said, I'm getting rid of the thing no matter what. If it's not totaled, I'm definitely getting rid of it if it's not totaled. If it's not totaled, I mean, yeah. But so is what it is. Yeah, we don't know yet. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And their Corvette division is one of the biggest in the country as well. Rumors are heating up on Carter getting traded to the 49ers. I haven't seen anything on that. So Here's Prince. I feel the same way. I might be wrong, but Jalen Hurts is giving me a weird feeling. Like Brody's just too calm. Jalen Hurts has never been this calm in an offseason. I think he's always calm, Prince. It's one of the things I like about him. Here's M. Rice. What's up, Rice? The Crow Feast is going to be the largest in generations. The whiplash from shithead doomer fans rushing back to the flock after the Eagles have 1 ounce of success is going to be a thing to say. All right. Based on the picture, I think they would total. Tony, I hope, dude. Elaine says, I think we are going to be surprised at the NFL this year. Elaine, maybe you're right. There's always is some surprises, for sure. So. Always is some surprises. So, we'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. So, the other big change here that's coming up for your boy Big Z here is I got to pick up a U-Haul. I think I'm scheduled to pick it up tomorrow, but they're supposed to call me today. It's weird when you do a U-Haul. It's like they won't guarantee my pickup location or my drop-off location. The people call and they're like, well, we have a car available here. And now I don't have a car right now. I'm without a car. I was in Italy. I just talked to the insurance last night about getting me a rental car, for the time being. So that should be coming at some point here shortly. But right now I'm carless. I'm stuck. I'm at my parents' place. We move in on Sunday. So I'm supposed to be picking up the U-Haul tomorrow. There's one place close enough to me that I can walk to, but I'm talking to the U-Haul people yesterday and like, hey, I don't know if you're going to be able to pick it up there. I'm like, well, I need to pick it up there. So it's weird. It's like it's a weird thing, but I'm supposed to pick it up tomorrow, load that sucker up, move in Saturday and Sunday. So we'll see. I got my Costco card ready. I'm going to go and, I got a bunch of shit. We already have a mattress. We already got all of our kitchen stuff. My wife got a lot of that through her bridal party, but I got to get a couch. I got to get a bed frame. I got to get a dresser. I got to get rugs, and I got to outfit my home office. So I got a lot of shit coming up here. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Yeah, U-Haul does suck, Philly Don. In fact, I might look for an alternative. You don't have to pay until you pick it up. So I haven't paid for it yet. And is there Philly Don, do you know of an alternative? You know of an alternative? Yeah, Reyes. First time we'll be living together. Yep. First time we'll be living together. Aren't you proud of me, Reyes? The Catholic in me. Waited till married to move in with my lady. Love to see it. Bruce, look at that. Yeah, I can get my brother's pickup truck, but I got a lot of shit here. I got to buy a house. I don't want to do this renting thing over and over again. I hope to buy a house soon. I need some more super chats, folks. Penske Prince, is that right? Can you do? Yeah, I don't see, sis. The problem is I don't have that much that I would need like a moving company. I just need a truck. Like a big truck, not like my brother's got an F-150 I could use. But no, but is it like a moving company or is it you get a truck? Oh, because I want a truck. 2 men in a truck quoted me 50. Yeah, I'm not paying that. The U-Haul's $150. I get 2 days. I get 2 days with the thing. It's $150, $160. I'm like, all right, I can pay that. I'm not paying $1,000 to move my boxes. You can rent same day from where? Enterprise, maybe. Penske, I got to look up Penske. Let me see if Penske has anything around me. U-Haul does stink. Yeah, I think the smallest one's fine there. Let me see what I can find here. Let's see what I can get here. I'm on Penske now. We do have U-Haul. It sucks. $10-foot box truck from Home Depot, $200 per day. That's not bad, Tony. I need it for 2 days, though, so I'll be at $400. The U-Haul, I got like 150 miles, which should be enough for me, honestly. I think at least. So I'm not sure. I'll use Abe, that's the truth. Well, to be fair, Zander, they all suck. That's the God's honest truth right there, Abe. I'm sure they all suck. Look here, Penske won't tell me whether they have a truck. I got put in your name, put in your email, put in your phone number. Why? So you can sell my data. Just give me the damn quote, and I'll tell you if I want to give you my name and my email, my phone number. How about that, Penske? You piece of shit. $525 for Penske. Unlimited miles. So U-Haul right now is cheap. U-Haul at 150. Even if I go over on the miles, I don't think I'm getting up to $500. How much do they charge per mile? How much is U-Haul charge per mile? Folks, I got to outfit a whole apartment, and I just got back from Italy. I'm not looking to blow money on a Penske truck. Yeah, $1 per mile. So if I do 100 miles over, it's $100. I'm at 260. I'm still half the price of Penske. Yeah, I got to go max 100 miles probably. Yeah, that's fine. It says I get 100. It says I get like 140 miles included. Sis, I'm wondering the same thing, dude. Look at these Penske quotes. Pay now online. It says $474. Come on. I don't even need the big one. Look, I 12 foot's even big. I think the U-Haul I was getting was 10. $527 pay later, $474 pay now. I don't need any of these big boys. But I mean, that's a joke. That's a crock of shit. There's a all right, Siraj. A stupid comment. Look at budget. Let's do it together, shall we? Budget, rent a truck to move. Let's see. Wait, let me put in my info and then I'll show you. Oh, it said business rental. I don't want a business rental. I guess I could make it a business rental and move in my office. I know, I was personal. Let's see what they give me. Let's see what budget's got for me. Get the first time. Yeah, I might go to Home Depot. Or I might just go tell my brother to bring me his damn F-150. Take a couple trips. Probably cost me $100 in gas. Call it a day. Call it a day. I was going to get the U-Haul, though, so I could hit Costco after and maybe find a couch at Costco. Maybe find a Costco. Ooh. All right. I see why you were saying budget. It says 141 plus $1 per additional miles, but I get 2 days and 136 miles included. Now, where's the pickup? I think I would need maybe an estimated additional 50 miles. Where's the location here? All right. See, I can't. Yeah, pick up in Delaware. Well, you want? I'm going to drive to Delaware to pick you up. Yeah, it wants me to drive 50 miles to pick it up. Cross it off the list, Walter. Cross it off the list, Walter. Budget will bring to me? I don't see that. After hours drop off. No. I might have to call him. All right. No, they should have them in PA. I don't know where the hell they are. All right. Love all you guys. I'm out of here. Let me call U-Haul. And I might go to Home Depot. I don't need movers. I don't got that much shit yet, Abe. Yeah, the Turo app to rent like a big ass truck. Not a bad idea. Your last eye. JAKIB Nation. I am calling on anybody with a pickup truck. That's funny. All right. Love all you guys. I'm out of here. Appreciate each and every one of you. See you next time, everybody.